electric vehicles represent a rapidly evolving world. It's been out in front of every innovative boundary that Xpeng has pushed. Its latest salvo, the Xpeng G6 Performance, complete with advanced features that include its autonomous parking system. Having tried Xpeng's P7 some years back, which was remarkably impressive, even in comparison to Tesla's at the time, I wanted to see how this G6 auto parking would go. This video does a full test of the Xpeng G6 auto parking capability, showcasing both its strengths and weaknesses. If one looks back at only a few years, autonomous parking has come a long way. Early systems were pretty rudimentary and relied heavily on ultrasonic sensors that often failed to be right. Tesla was one of the pioneers in autonomous driving, but as it came to sensor-based parking, the brand was always criticized for lagging behind when it comes to reliability and precision. However, further improvements in camera technology along with machine learning and AI have considerably improved such systems. The Xpeng G6 is the latest model from Xpeng, so it should represent the pinnacle of this evolution. Does it? That is what this test will answer. Before giving an overview of the test in itself, let's take a closer look at how to activate and configure the Xpeng G6's auto parking system. You get in the car, access the driver assistance menu by pressing the icon of a car on the infotainment system. You select the parking option and enable the intelligent parking system. In case you are not familiar with it, it's described in the user manual step by step with pictures so simple that even a novice user can understand the procedures. But one of the nicest things about the G6 is that the controls can be tailored to suit one's preference. I set it up so that the intelligent parking assist turns on with a press and hold method on a specific button. That is pretty user-friendly because once drivers get used to it, the transition to enable auto parking in their driving routine should be very smooth. With the system set up, I launched the first test in a typical parking lot. Driving around, the G6 began scanning for open parking spots. While this process was smooth, I did notice a few drawbacks almost immediately. Confident and thorough during the parking process. It went back into the spot precisely on the first try. Compared with Tesla's early models, which always seemed to have to make multiple adjustments, that was impressive one-shot accuracy. The 360-degree camera view provided during the maneuver was clear and helpful, further enhancing the parking experience. But there were some quirks. These turn signals would flash in the right direction, but then just stop, which is very confusing for other drivers around and can really be a safety concern. The system lacks a pull-out feature, added convenience that could have allowed the car to automatically exit the parking spot. Though the G6 tried its best in trying to attempt helping with the pull-out, it was underwhelmingly executed. It turned the car a little bit forward, move one can easily do by hand, which begged the question of how useful this feature is. To fully test the capabilities of the G6, I have tested the system in a number of parking scenarios. Of particular note was an open spot with no cars to either side, the very scenario under which many of the German automakers' systems struggled. Not like these, relying on adjacent cars for guidance and alignment, the G6 confidently parked into the open spot without a problem. That showed reliance on camera vision more than merely ultrasonic sensors, significant development and improvement from older technologies. Second, I attempted to position the G6 in a spot where one of the adjoining automobiles was not precisely square to the curb. In prior tests of German automobiles, the auto parking system would regularly align up the car to the askew vehicle and perform an equally askew parking job. The G6 did much better. It seemed to disregard the wonky car parked perfectly between the lines, mirroring neither its neighbors nor most of its competitive set. But parallel parking is, more often than not, the acid test for every auto parking arrangement, especially when one gets into constricted urban spaces. The G6's performance here was commendable, but not without its flaws. It scanned for available spots and found one between two vehicles. When it went into the parallel parking routine, the car smoothly moved into position, but didn't have that final finesse as seen in some competitors like Toyota. One thing which the G6 truly did excel in was in the domain of safe distance, both from the curb and from the adjacent vehicles. The system did leave just enough room between the tires and the curb to make sure no ugly scratches to the rim occurred. A nice touch if a bit needs to be driven by many drivers. Still, it did not perform the final adjustment sweep seen on some Toyotas, where the car slightly moves forward and back to get its alignment just right. While not a deal breaker, this omission does place the G6 a notch below the best in class in this regard. As I said, the G6's pull-out feature is a bit less than ideal. It often didn't perform any legitimate kind of pull-out maneuver in my testing. For example, the car should, theoretically, reverse out at an angle to safely exit the spot. Instead, the G6 simply moved straight back to a task that hardly requires autonomous assistance. The oversight reduces the overall utility of the auto parking system. One could say that simplicity within a pull-out feature makes for fewer errors, but with autonomous driving going the way it's going, it was overly simplistic for my tastes. Much more would be expected from a driver in a vehicle with the latest and greatest technology in it, which should have been a focal point that Xpeng can use to make improvements in the future. More advanced features of the G6 are its memory parking capabilities. It remembers how it got into park and retraces that path to pull out. While in concept this works well, my tests showed some inconsistencies. In one instance, the car perfectly backed along the route it had taken into park, while in another, it failed to properly align and required manual override to avoid obstacles. The memory parking feature is certainly useful when it comes to complicated parking situations in which the car's initial path is the safest route out. However, the occasional hiccups in the system show it's not foolproof. This is one of the other areas in which Xpeng could refine the software to make the experience a bit more reliable. After much testing, it certainly seems like the Xpeng G6's auto parking system is a force to be reckoned with in the field of autonomous vehicle tech. Flaws include an indicator light that blinks fitfully, a less than spectacular pull-out function, and no AR overlay. But these are minor quibbles. That's because with the G6, parking, as one might be able to tell from my testing, is confident and accurate. Whether an open spot, tight parallel parking, or even aligning with a crookedly parked vehicle. Relying more heavily on camera vision rather than ultrasonic sensors, this system keeps it well ahead of some rivals in finesse and accuracy. All in all, the auto parking system of this Xpeng G6 Performance is impressive, being somewhere around 6 to 7 points out of 10, assuming its positives but noting what it still lacks. Xpeng did a great job, and if continuously reinventing, then G6 may set records in the industry. Like before, I will be keeping a close eye on these systems, how they evolve, and what new things Xpeng and other makers will be revealing in the future for autonomous driving. The auto parking feature of the Xpeng G6 Performance is an exciting step forward into the journey toward fully autonomous vehicles. With any technology, there are growing pains, yet potential cannot be denied. For the tech head, the prospective customer, and anyone curious about the future of driving, what's inside the G6 is a fascinating look at what's possible. Watch for more testing and review as we continue our investigation into the rapidly evolving landscape of automotive technology.